folks. Welcome back to the first and second part of the ongoing series, How to Achieve Out of Balance. What I wanted to talk about for this particular podcast is self-care. How self-care will help us to achieve balance in our life, and root of all our problems are coming from imbalanced life. So out of 14 that I want us to present to you, I'm going to start with the least one, and it's the one that very popular or common, or the word that people spread around these days. Is more to do with self-care. I wanted to look at it in the 4 or 5 area. Number one, I want to see how you can exercise self-care in the area of emotions, how you exercise self-care in the area of mental, physical, psychological, financial, actually, and lastly, on spiritual level. But before I start, I wanted to briefly tell why self-care has been something that has been in existence for generation as far back as over 2,000 years ago, in fact to 3,000 more. They give a different name these days, but I wanted to only focus on a true self-care rather than hedonistic way of doing it. So there are several philosophers that come up with a theory of using pleasure, increasing your pleasure to overcome your suffering, and that will lead you to a well-being. It will lead you to a well-being life, and this is when people abuse this, and then this is not a self-care. So you have so many people in this particular kind of philosophy called hedonistic philosophy that argue that there's a two-way a human being can increase their well-being. Is either they reduce their suffering or they increase their pleasure. And the trouble is subject to interpretation, and what people engaging themselves or losing themselves will, like consuming excessive content of alcohol, will not only momentarily take you away from your suffering in that moment, it actually creates more suffering long time by creating another health issue for you. And someone that handle his anxiety by having a 20 stick of cigarettes, or someone that feels so empty that just engaging into conquest of different sexual partner. So there is a early chances that this individual will damage themselves through their contacting health issues or through the sexual transmission disease into their life, and that caused them even more bigger suffering than what they've been running over. But what I wanted to present to you with this podcast is to look into what kind of self-care, or how can you use self-care to work toward a balanced life, to make you improve your well-being. Because when your well-being is in a good shape, on a good health, you're bound to make a decision that healthy for your life. So let's start it. Emotional side. And what happens when people ignore their mental health, when people ignore what their emotion is telling them? A lot of people just suppress this for years, and they get to a point that they don't really know what they feel anymore. And if you don't know what you feel, how you feel it, you can't really use the right vocabulary to express your emotions. Sometimes I ask people, how are you today? And the first only one line you hear is that fine. And so if I'm really close to them, I ask what is fine means to you, and then they are lost because the moment I ask the question is a question for them to stop and really think at that moment, how do they feel? So, and because majority of people lack emotional vocabulary, they don't really know what they feel moment to moment because either they are in their head or they just block themselves off by distracting themselves from their emotions. So, how do you do a healthy self-care in this? Is to create time for yourself. If you don't have 10 to 30 minutes every day for yourself in 24 hours, then you have no life. Regardless of what people say to you, if you cannot say you can specifically give yourself 10 to 30 minutes, then you have no life. You say people that don't give themselves 10 minutes and they end up spending 6, 7 hours to watch TV in a day, to watch celebrity in a day, to constantly checking their phone whether they have a message to return the message back. So, how do you self-care in this area is to practice actually using meditation to help you to engage into your feelings. So it helps you to know what you're feeling at that particular moment. And in fact, I will suggest having a diary to write your feelings in a day. Write it down so you know the pattern of your feelings and you're able to see what trigger it and you're able to manage it even better. Uh, I once have a young person that I know that I was coaching indirectly. What I'm saying by that is she seemed to have a lot of issue with all her personal relationship because she's overreacting to people what to her and she doesn't even know how to handle this thing because sometimes we hurt each other by what and sometimes some of that can be deliberate. Most of the time, they are very indeliberate because human beings we are very complex, and especially when you are dealing with people that are not conscious, and when they are not conscious, they bound to hurt you more. And if you don't know what trigger you, you bound to always reacting rather than acting. So able to understand your emotion is an art of self-care and I'm encouraging you to spend at least 10 to 20 minutes every time you wake up in the morning. Just sit still. You don't need to do anything, just sit still and just hear your heartbeat and your breath. And that is enough to be able to travel inward, to be able to know yourself to that level. So number two, the physical side. This is what always uh, surprised me. I was talking to an accountant recently and I asked her, what do you really like? And then she said she doesn't like anything. She doesn't have any motivation for anything. It could be true that she doesn't like anything. But what I have noticed that anytime she starts something, within 2 weeks she give up. With the physical side of self-care, you have to be intentional. It's not something that you wait for inspiration from above to fall over you and you just do it. You have to be intentional. You have to do it as if your life depends on it. There is so much evidence that we cannot ignore or pretend that it not exists of the benefit of having a physical exercise in our life. If you cannot run, then walk. And if you cannot walk, dance. If you don't want to dance, to go to a dancing class like a salsa or kuzumba class or bachata, you can dance in your own house. Just do something to move your body. Or if you can't do that, you can join a yoga class. Personally, I don't feel like yoga is a physical exercise, in my opinion. It's more spiritual practice in the way I say it. But I've seen it that a lot of people use uh, uh, physical yoga that it's actually help if you are not the one that bustling yourself. But I'm encouraging you. I'm challenging you to consider a physical exercise, whatever you do, to improve your self-care. You will see a massive difference in your life, like your confidence, like your self-esteem, like your mood will also improve, and you're able to get a happy chemical dopamine, serotonin. uh, and once you have this, in my observation so far, the most happiest people are the ones that do most things. A lot of people get this thing wrong. They think if they do a lot of things, they will be happy. No, people that actually do a lot of things are the most happiest people I know in my life. So what I'm trying to say to you is that another second thing that you need to consider about your self-care is the physical exercise. Make it like a religious base that you have to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, every daily, to work on yourself on this. Most people, when they have some terminal illness, that's when they have a list of certain list of bucket list of what to do. Life is too short. When you are living right now, it is your responsibility to take care of your health. It is your responsibility to take care of your well-being. Nobody else, no government, no your parent. If you are 18 years above, it is your responsibility to make sure that your emotional, your mental, your physical, your psychological, your financial is intact, in a good shape. How to achieve a balanced life? Once you get all this area in a healthy level in your life, you begin to see different in your life. So, number 3 is psychological well-being. You have to consider the people you spend your time with. You also have to consider how you spend your time. I've seen people wasted their time spending their time with people that only just use them because they don't want to be alone. So they inviting them to come out and just drink and drink. Another thing I've seen, which is not a self-care, is people do voluntary drunkenness. People that volunteer to get drunk. And yes, it might be hedonistic philosophy, but this is not what I consider a self-care, because this also leads you, if you continue engaging in this art, it leads you to a bigger problem health-wise. But what I'm saying to consider your psychological well-being is to filter out people you spend 80% of your time with. At work, you might not be able to do that, but you can have a boundary. It is important to have a boundary, to pay attention to your gut instinct, to pay attention to your feelings, and have a boundary that protects yourself from energy vampire. It is your responsibility to do this, because not everyone that comes to your life is supposed to be in your life. If you have a family or friends or partner that are very needy, sometimes their own need of being alone or loneliness make them become self-absorbed, and they constantly demanding on your attention, either to send you text constantly in order to get your attention. You don't need to hate them, you just need to have a boundary, and make your boundary so firm and clear. And you don't also have to practice when to detox from internet for connectivity. Have a particular day in a week where you inform you people in your cycle that you will not be in touch. Just spend your time without connecting. I went to see a friend parent before Christmas. Um, his dad was telling me about one of his uh, surreal story of what happened to him in early 70s in Africa, where he was working in Southern Africa and there was civil war going on, and they find themselves in a wrong country without a visa to enter the country. And the immigration official and the military kick them back into the country that they are not supposed to enter, and that country also kicked them back. But I was thinking, I asked him, Aeon, tell me, how did you manage? There's no ATM machine, there's no mobile machine, there's no mobile phone. How did you survive? He said, we just rely on our creativity and we're able to connect and talk to people. At the end, the only thing that saved their life is not the internet, it's not the mobile phone. Is able to connect with another human being, is able to share their ordeal with another human being. And then you realize that actually there is a lot of good people in the world. As much as you find a bad one, but there's also a load of good people in the world. And it makes you appreciate humanity generally. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a part of self-care to take care of your psychological well-being. So one of those things you do is take yourself regularly out of your comfort zone. Put yourself in a place where you develop your mental strength. Today, we have so many people that are living their life on prescription drugs. Take, for example, in America, 70% of America, the people in their 40s, are depend on some kind of subscription to survive, to just be alive. And this is what I'm doing this particular podcast to tell you that your life shouldn't be like this. So you have a responsibility to take care of your psychological well-being. So one of those things is that select the people you have in your inner circle, people that uplifted you, people that support you, people that can call, people that live the life that you admire, not the people that come to your life envy you or try to take you to a direction that doesn't support your higher self or lead you to a higher vibration. And also it's part of helping do a self-care toward your psychological well-being is to try and travel. If you cannot travel internationally, travel locally. Go to the nearest town. Just do a day trip to take yourself out of your comfort zone. I've seen people that work long hours and they come home, eat, watch TV, and do the same thing again and again. When the big challenge or situation happen, they couldn't handle it. So you have a responsibility to develop your mental strength and allow using the self-care to build this. And the fourth one that I also wanted to mention is financial financial part. Most of us are not fortunate to come up from the home where the parent are or caregiver are able to train or put in us a discipline, because these skills are discipline thing, and if you don't teach somebody they won't know how to do it. So if you don't know, if you spend more than what you earn, that is out of lack of self-care, and actually that is self-destructive behavior. So that shows that you don't really care about yourself. So to care about yourself is to take responsibility of your financial outgoing. If you have to earn more, look for extra job to do and save more of what you earn if you can. Most of people know how to make money, but they don't know how to save money. They don't know how to grow money. So a good self-care, especially these days where there's so many free resources out there, you can watch a video on YouTube how to become a saver with a small start, how to increase income, how to have extra income, how to have a passive income. You can just set 2020 a goal to develop a new skills about financial goal. You can set a target to yourself that 2020, I want to pay off my debt if it's achievable. I don't want you to just push yourself too much, and that is not self care either. So, self care is to be compassionate about yourself, but discipline or determine and have a self-control enough to make what you wanted to happen come to friction. So I'm telling you, one of the things that make people wake up in the morning is when they saw the letter from the creditor chasing them that they're coming to see them. That can never be easy. I remember when I was in the uni many years ago, and I remember a particular time I have a trouble to pay off my school fees in time, so I have an arrangement with the uni to pay instrumentally, and I missed one of the second installment that I have to pay. Within few days of that agreement, I started getting a lot of letter from lawyer from the university. I remember what I felt that day. It wasn't good feelings. My heart jumped. I felt so afraid, so scared, and I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking what's going to happen. Am I be able to finish university? Am I be able to pay this debt? Am I going to go to the court? So I can imagine a family that have children, but because of the lack of enough resources, they also have to go and borrow money where they give them 400% interest to pay. That is not a self-care. It makes them so worried all the time. And when you have too many negative emotions, you attract a lot of running into your life because your energy will focus on lower vibration, which is fear. And what you wanted to do is to lift yourself up. So a good self-care is to not to spend your income before you earn it. It's not to spend more than you earn. And also, if you can get rid of the debt you have, pay it off. Pay it off. Have a life where you don't need it to feel like you have to work in order to service a debt. So that is about financial. The last one is spiritual. I know not everyone want to talk about this, and not everyone cup of tea, but I feel like when I talk about spiritual, I'm not talking about religion. Some people achieve spirituality through religion. For me, when I talk about spiritual, I'm talking about transcending from one state of mind to another state of mind. And that's what I mean by spiritual. Is ability to connect with yourself and connect to the other people. So that is spiritual for me. And the moment you the moment you take care of this side of you, the moment you open up to amazing attraction to your life, you call it law of attractions. So you start to recognize that there is something that you can control, and then you give almost all your strength and your power. You have a confidence to go for it. And then you will also recognize that there's something that beyond your control. The direction of travel of wind is beyond your control. How the other people behave or treat you is beyond your control. But how you react to it is absolutely within your control. And this is spiritual for me. And then you will be able to have a peace of mind to know that things that you don't have control over, you shouldn't worry about it. And the third one, you'll be able to have wisdom or understanding to know which one you have control about, which one you don't have a control about. And this is spirituality for me. How do you practice this under the self-care? It's simple. Again, it's the same thing that I mentioned first time uh, when I talk about emotion, is to practice meditation. Just do a breathing meditation every day, at least 10 minutes to 20 minutes. You will see, with time, you will see different in how you reacting to things that used to trigger you easily in the past. You will realize that you'll be able to connect with yourself more and connect with other people. In fact, your level of tolerance and patience will also be increased enormously. So this is how I'm going to stop because I'm mindful of the time that I dedicated to this topic. It's really big topic, but self-care is the least of all the four I wanted to talk to. And some people call it self-love. I wanted to call it self-care. And doing this, if you get this right, It is the foundation that the remaining other three that I will be mentioned later in the coming podcast will build on top of that. If you get this wrong, it will be difficult to start practicing the other three that are even more harder to start. So I'm hoping this particular podcast helps someone today. If you have a question and you want to write to me, my name is Richard. You can easily write to me. Yeah, just send an email to info@lifeforlivingwell.info. Again, info@lifeforlivingwell.info. So you can check more out on our website at www.lifeforlivingwell.info. I hope this particular episode of podcast able to help someone today. And whatever you do, take one day at a time and enjoy it. Thank you.